What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On this build, I'm going to do something a little bit different. This pedal board I built in, it was a while ago. I've had this pedal board for a few years now, and it's had the piss beat out of it. It's been toted all over the place. It's really, it's been through it. So what I would like to do to enhance that creativity of making music for my videos is to build a new pedal board. And there's a lot of things that in hindsight I would have done differently with this board, but now I'm going to do them for the new board that we'll build. Cable management has always been like the bane of my guitar playing. It doesn't seem, no matter what I do, just cables. I don't really particularly care for the way that they look. They're really just kind of in your face. And so what I would like to do is be able to run these just straight down and inside the board where you won't see them. Also, something when I built this board that I really didn't take into account was just the different widths of each pedal. So this pedal right here is really just kind of not really much of it, as you can see. It's actually making contact with the board. This is way too wide of a gap here for that pedal, and even for the workstation as well. This Keeley dark side, this is not ideal whatsoever. This power supply is well, it's junk. The point I'm making is we're going to build a new pedal board. We're going to tweak some things. We're going to change up quite a bit, and hopefully we'll be a lot happier with the end result. So what we'll actually have on the new board is, in the very back of it, we'll have a line in and a line out. What that will be for is the guitar will run a line in and then a cable out to the amplifier. So as it stands now, my line in comes right off the compressor. So that runs right to the guitar. You know, I don't know, doesn't really look good. And then to the amplifier is right off of the loop station, and it just goes to the amplifier that way. So what I would like to do is, once again, hide all of these cables as best I can within the board so you can't see them. And then behind the new board, it'll be a solid back, and there will be just 1/4 inch line out, 1/4 inch line in. I think that's really going to just kind of streamline everything and really make it look a lot more professional. Now, just to briefly go through what pedals I have on my board, I have a Keeley compressor, Fulltone OCD, TC Electronic Profit to digital delay. This pedal right here is really something. This is the Old Blood Noise Endeavor Procession. This pedal is absolutely wild. It's by definition, it is a reverb pedal, but it has a lot of really awesome functions. Specifically this hold function here. So this is just a momentary. So as long as you hold it, the pedal will behave in a certain way, and as soon as you let it go, that effect ceases. So you have your bypass, which will kick the pedal on, and then you have several different filters, modulations. You have flanger, a filter, and then a tremolo setting, and you can really dial this in. So once we test out the new board, I'll kind of show you guys a little bit of what this pedal specifically does, because I mean, a delay is a delay, an overdrive is an overdrive, a compressor is a compressor. This pedal right here is absolutely amazing. It has been such a tool in the toolbox, and it does such a variety of different things. It is by far my favorite pedal on the board. If I had to get rid of them all and I could only keep one, that's the one I would absolutely keep. And then we have our Boss loop station, our RC3. That thing is awesome as well. You guys that have that, you know that pedal is an absolute rock star. And then a Klon. This is not a real Klon. This is obviously a replica or a counterfeit Klon. It is. I paid $30 for this on Wish, and the thing kicks ass. This pedal is awesome. It really is. It sounds so good. I'll never be able to afford a Klon. I think real Klons are what, $5 grand now or something like that. I'm not paying that for an overdrive pedal. You'll never ever, I don't care how much money I had, you would never see me spending $5,000 on an overdrive pedal. The Keeley dark side, this is basically, or what they allege to be, like David Gilmour's Dark Side of the Moon guitar tones in a pedal. And I think it does a pretty good job of that. I'm not a huge fan of the fuzz side of this thing. I guess it's supposed to mimic a big muff. I don't really think that it does, but It does sound pretty cool when you kick that in, but what I use this for more than anything is for the Univibe. The Univibe on this thing sounds awesome, and it's in a way a true Univibe, you know, with as far as the circuitry within the pedal goes. So it really does a great job of capturing that. The flanger is really good on it as well. The phaser, this side right here, this modulated side, is really cool, and it does a lot of different things. And it also has a delay built into it as well. So it kind of does a little bit of everything, but I think really where it shines, at least the way that I use it, is its Univibe. When I first really wanted to build like an actual pedal board, I went out and I bought, like, I thought you had to have, you know, 20 pedals on a board to really do something. And as I get older and as time goes on, really that has dwindled down quite a bit to what you see here in front of you. The only thing I'm going to add to the new pedal board is I'm going to put another TC Electronic pedal, the Sky Surfer Reverb. This thing is also a Rockstar reverb pedal. It does a really good job. It has several different reverb settings on it, such as hall, plate, spring. It's just a nice looking pedal, and I mean, you can see I've marked in different locations with a Sharpie, just sort of settings that I like on it. And yeah, this thing's cool. I took it off because I run through a Fender 68 Custom Deluxe Reverb. It's a Reissue amplifier, obviously, but that has a really kick-ass spring reverb chamber in it. It's tube driven. The amplifier is phenomenal. However, with an amplifier like that, you really have to keep the volume sort of pretty high, unfortunately. You know, you buy an amp like that and then you play it at volume 2 or 3, and you're wondering why you spent all this money on an amplifier of that caliber. That thing really shines when you start to open that up, you know, volume 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That amplifier is unlike any other. However, the volume is deafening. Even 5 is really a lot to deal with, especially if it's, you know, you're in close proximity to it. So to really, once again, to get that spring reverb chamber to really open up with everything else with the amp, you have to have it at a higher volume. Now there's a few things I could do to combat that volume issue. We'll get into that in another video. I don't want to dive too much into the amplifier right now, but the point I'm making is adding this extra reverb to it, I think I can help mitigate some of that loss of reverb at lower volumes. In any case, enough rambling about the pedals here. Let's get this board completely stripped down, and then we'll move on to the next step. Another fun fact about this pedal, you can run an expression pedal into it, right? So we have our line in. This here is for an expression pedal. So if you want to increase your trem, you want to increase your flanger, your filter, whatever the case may be, you want to manipulate the speed of that effect, you can do all of that just by running an expression pedal into it. This thing is really versatile. Like I said, we'll get into this a little bit more at the end of the video. Now, once upon a time, this was all somewhat organized. Over time, things came apart, and I needed to get them back together quickly, so I just really started kind of just cramming everything up here. One of our favorites on this channel, hot glue. You can see a lot of these cables are held in with that, and they're on there really well. So for those of you that knock on hot glue, I can't agree with you on that. I absolutely love that shit. They're on there good, huh? Holy hell. I'll probably keep this box, this DI box, I'll probably keep this on a new board. I'm not really sure how I'm going to wire this in so that I can have, because I don't primarily run XLR, but it is a good thing to have on the board because sometimes you are running direct into a board, a mixing board, so having that XLR capability is kind of beneficial. Usually what I do is I'm running my board to the amp, and then the amp is mic'd up. with like an SDM50 or something like that, and then that is obviously run to the board. So you're really getting that tube amp sound that's mic'd up, and then it's run through board and then out through the house to the PA. So, but I would like to. I'm not really gonna. I'm not going to put too much thought into it. If I can't come up with a realistic solution to integrate this into the new board, I'm just going to toss that idea out, because really, if I need a DI box, I can just run a very, very short cable from the line out into the back of the DI, and then XLR if I really, really, really need to plug in direct that way. But it doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen. All right, so there is our absolute mess of parts. Now this power supply, we're gonna just get rid of this. We're gonna get something that's a little bit more reliable, a little cleaner of power, because not all of them, but there are some expensive pedals here, and I don't want to be running dirty power into these things where the voltage isn't always consistent. It's a funny thing. Some of these pedals, they thrive on that proper voltage, and when they don't have it, they really kind of sound like shit. So getting some cleaner power, some more consistent power onto the board, I think is the best case scenario. And because of that, we're going to replace all of these cables as well. But now what we need to do is come up with sort of a layout for our pedal board. So I'm going to cut just a small piece of this protective cardboard, and I'll put it here, and we'll start kind of laying things out and mapping out how we want our board to look, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now I've set up just this little piece of protective cardboard paper. I'm not really sure what this shit is actually called, but the reason for this is I just kind of want to just lay out some of these pedals and figure out exactly how I want this thing to sort of be. Now, what I would like to do is put this after this modulated reverb. The reason for that is if I open this reverb up, let's say I want to get some really washy, atmospheric, ambient noises out of this board for like layering some of the music in the videos or whatever. What I want to do is let's say I want to open this pedal just way up, right? Full, everything's pinned, right? I want this pedal to just explode when a signal hits it. I want to push whatever modulated sound I'm getting out of this pedal into that reverb and just really let it expand even further. So I think that is a really good spot for an additional reverb. The only thing I have to factor in is some of these pedals have their input and output jacks on the sides. Some of them, like these TC Electronic pedals, have them on the top. I apologize, guys, if this is kind of hard to follow. Really, this is you're watching me come up with the plan for the board, so really I'm just making this shit up as I go, to put it bluntly. But somehow it always works out in the end. That's what I need to really do, is figure out what my spacing would be for stuff like this. Now, you're looking at these on the surface, right? But these will be run down into the belly of the board, so they'll actually be sitting like this. But since I can't do that, I'm just mocking them up so I can gauge the spacing in between each pedal, what's going to be required for that. Yeah, we run mono, unfortunately. Also, I know sometimes, my terminology is a little scattered, and for that, I do apologize. Yes, I mean, doing my best to explain this to you guys in a way that makes sense to me, and sometimes what makes sense to me doesn't always make sense to everybody else. So hopefully you're able to follow along. Looks like they use some sort of adhesive on these to secure these knobs onto the potentiometer. Yeah, that's a shame, because while you can still get a bit of a purchase on them, really not much at this point. So I usually hang on to random parts like that, though. You never know what's going to come up in the future where something like that might be exactly what you need. I used to be really, really bad, almost like hoarder mentality about just random parts for shit, I have since eased up quite a bit on that. And now I kind of force myself to go through my inventory regularly, and you know, I kind of have to come to terms with some stuff after a while. It's like, dude, if you haven't touched this stuff in the last 6 months, you don't need it, and you just need to get rid of it. So these parts that are scavenging from this pedal will be no different. You know, if I don't end up touching them in a few months, then I'll just end up getting rid of them. The shed's almost ready for sort of, I don't know if you call it a tour, because you know, you can literally spit from one side to the other of it, but there's just a few more ends that I want to button up in here, and then I'll give you guys sort of a look around the shed, show you exactly what we're working with here and how it's set up. You know, I kind of waited my whole life for a shop of my own, and so now that I have that, I'm really kind of trying to take my time and set everything up the best way I can. You don't know how valuable these 9-volt connectors are till you need one and don't have them. So that's something that I'll hang on to that till the end of time. As for the blue LED, yeah, dude, I don't need that. I'll never fucking. Yeah, I don't need the blue LED. I'll never use that. So, and if I say I will, I'm lying, because that thing will sit in a box of parts for eternity. All right, what's up, guys? So I've picked my material for the board. Now these are just 1-inch cutoffs of some pine stair tread. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip this round over side. I want these at 7 inches width per piece. So we've got the DWE 7491 out here. It's the 10-inch job site saw. This thing is an absolute fucking rock star of a tool to have. So don't regret buying that for 1 second. If you're in the market for table saw, this is definitely a viable option for you. So in any case, we're going to rip these down at 7 inches and move over to the miter saw and cut them to length. I also went ahead and threw a new 60-tooth blade on this just for a cleaner cut. Looks like we're already just about there. That'll work. A little too high. That'll do. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the miter saw. This is the rigid R4222. It's a 12-inch dual bevel sliding compound miter saw. The thing is, I've had this for a long time. It is starting to show its age in some areas. I just really can't bring myself to get rid of it. It was a pretty pricey saw when I bought it, and it has been used professionally for more jobs than I can count. This thing has just been it's been a necessity. Looking at things now, I don't really need a 12-inch saw, so I think whenever the time comes that I do upgrade this to a newer saw, I'm probably going to get something smaller, maybe even a 10-inch. That way I can keep my table saw blades and my miter saw blades the same size. Yeah, this served its purpose in the professional realm, but now as a hobby guy, you know, this really it's a massive saw. It's just big. I have it on the folding rolling job site stand from DeWalt. The stand is great. A little pricey, but I think it's well worth it. I've had no issues with it up to this point. So in any case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change out this blade real quick. It's just this thing's been used, and I just want to get as clean a cut as possible on this material. So I'm just gonna change this out real quick for an 80-tooth finished blade. This is also a finished blade. This might even be an 80-tooth as well. It is, yeah. So this is an 80-tooth as well, but this one's been used quite a bit. I'm not going to get rid of the blade though. I usually save blades like this and I just flip them around and can use them for vinyl or something like that. So Remember, for those of you new with the miter saws, the teeth face away from you. Just imagine your dust port is here, and when the blade spins, it's throwing the sawdust up at it. In my opinion, dust collection on miter saws really is kind of a shitty thing. They don't work, at least in my experience. I've never had one that works well. I don't care what type of vacuum or dust collector you hook up to it. I've never had one that collects dust well, but maybe that's just my experience. But in any case, the teeth face the dust port, so the saw is going to rotate this way. I'm sure most of you know that, but for those of you just getting into the miter saw game, it's something to be mindful of. And like with any saw, circular saw, table saw, miter saw, whatever, you don't have to crank these things to the limit, right? You're just nice and snug. That's more than enough. And now this saw is to the point where it has to be lubricated in certain areas pretty regularly, but that's okay. I just love the saw so much I can't really bring myself to get rid of it. This does have a shadow line, so it's got like a light up in here. It works okay, but I wouldn't trust it at this point with the saw. When I first got it, it was right on, but like I said, she's starting to show rage in a lot of areas. So now for this piece, this is actually going to be the closed back of the pedal board. But in order to keep the pedal board on an angle, I'm going to have to run this through the table saw. I'm probably going to set the table saw to like a 15-degree bevel. I'm going to start with a 15-degree bevel on this. I think that's probably going to be more than enough, and we'll take it from there. Luckily, this is a little bit wider than I need, so it's kind of like a haircut in this case. I can always take more off. So I'm starting with a generous piece. Once I get my bevel the way that I want it, then I can actually rip this down to the appropriate width that I need. One of those things, guys, you don't want to back yourself into a corner where you fuck up a cut and then you have absolutely no room to go from there and you have to start all over with a new piece. Give yourself something that's actually a little bit wider than what you need, especially when you're doing bevel work and stuff like that. I'm not a professional and math isn't exactly my strong suit, so a lot of times I'm just a little bit of trial and error with things like this. But it seems like the autofocus is kind of a fucking mess here as well, so I hope that isn't driving people crazy. But yeah, so like I said, just give yourself some room to fuck up. Now, for those of you that are also new to the table saw game that aren't really all too familiar with how the bevel system on these works, so you have your fence and the adjustments for that up top side, and then for your bevel to actually angle your blade, you have this here. So it has degrees written out. When you first get these saws, one of the big things you want to do, sometimes, just like with a miter saw, you want to calibrate it. You want to make sure that everything is square and true, and so that's something you're going to want to do with this. If that's something people are curious about, we can certainly do that in another video, but this isn't a comprehensive how-to on table saw usage. I just kind of want to bring this stuff up as we use the tools very briefly. So this is your setting for your bevel. So you unlock it, at least this is the setup for the DeWalt. You unlock it and then you just literally slide this to the degree that you want. Now I can guarantee that this is 15 degrees now because I've calibrated the saw, but if you haven't calibrated your saw, I wouldn't be 100% positive if that was 15 degrees. I would double check if you want to be absolutely sure. And then you just swivel this, lock it down. And now, as you can see, our blade is angled, right? 15 degrees that way. And now you see what we have here is a nice 15-degree bevel. All right, so I actually brought this bevel down to it's about 8 degrees. So 15 was a little too extreme. Then I knocked it down to 10. 10 was still a bit much. 9 too much, and 8. And I'm just literally, when you get down to 10 degrees and you want to just keep bringing that bevel to a less intense degree, I'm taking it off a saw blade at a time. I'm just running it through, just shaving it down, just enough to change that bevel. That way I'm not removing too much material, because, you know, even though I ripped myself a pretty generous piece initially to start with, what can end up happening is if you keep shaving this down without paying any attention to how much material you're actually taking off, the next thing you know, you wind up with a fucking dowel-sized thing left, because you just kept ripping it through without really paying attention to how much material you're actually shaving off each time. So, kind of like looking down a gun sight, that's usually what I do. As I'm changing the angle on the blade, I'm looking down at the material, and I just want the saw blade to cover the side of the material. I hope this is making sense to you guys. I will do a more comprehensive table saw video in the future where we'll discuss some of these finesse type techniques that you can use with the table saw. But in any case, I hope you guys can see what's going on here now. Now these, the old Harbor Freight Special, that's what these are. But they're serving their purpose to kind of hold everything in place. But as you can see, once I really hold everything up, there's a nice tight fit right there. And the pedal board is at a nice soft angle, just the way I want it. We have our upper level of pedals, and then our lower level here. Underneath, our power supply and everything will be in there, nice and hidden. We'll have our 1/4-inch jacks for our line out that will come through the back of the pedal board, and our line in on the other side doing the same thing. So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do some routing. I'm not really sure what profile I want to go with yet, but I do want to route this area right here and also the bottom here. So I think I'm just going to do a round over on this, just so it's like a little less aggressive touching the ground. And then I'm going to round over the top here and here, just to make everything nice and soft and not so aggressive looking. Now, on a side note, one of my favorite routers of all time, it is corded, but it's the Colt. It's just a 1 horsepower. Obviously, it's made by Bosch, as you can see. Just a 1 horsepower little trim router, palm router, whatever you want to call it. This thing is the balls. I fucking love this router. I've had this for years now, and it really is just performs so well. I mean, you need to know your limitations with a router. It's a very small router, so, you know, keep that in mind. Depending on what you're doing, you might need a much larger, you know, plunged style router with a much bigger motor and a lot more power. But for most tasks that I do personally, this thing right here is absolutely great. And as long as I have power to plug into, like with many of my tools, I'm going to go with the corded model. Now, I love my DeWalt cordless router. I think that thing's great, but this, I like it better. So for the bottom level of the board that actually will be touching the ground, I'm going to do a chamfer. This is a 1/4-inch chamfer. I hope that works well. We're not going to get fancy with it or anything like that. I just want it to look clean. It's really my main concern, is that this pedal board just looks, come on, you fucker. What the fuck is your problem? Here I am, telling you guys how wonderful this thing is. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing with it. There we go. Helps if you plug shit in, guys. I like it. Now, one thing, guys, that I found very helpful with projects like this is just making a little mark somewhere to keep track of what side of what. Because I'll tell you something, it's very easy to start nailing shit together or just whatever you're doing, and turns out you did it upside down. So this might seem like common sense for a lot of people and they don't have to mark stuff. For me, I found it super helpful to just put a B for bottom and then L for lower. So I know when I start going to try to put this thing together, if I see a B and an L and I'm trying to put this on the top, I'm you know what I mean? I'm not going to put it in the wrong spot. So there we go. And because I have the bottom marked, there's really no need to mark the top. Just remember that you do have your pieces marked. So when you're going to assemble everything, try to make a mental note that you do want to identify these markings that you made. Make sure that your shit gets put together the right way. Now, this is an instance where we're trying to kind of promote a little bit of safety with our tools. Normally I would not unplug the router when I change the bit, but for the video, I will. We want to encourage people to use their tools safely around here. We don't want people getting hurt. We want people to enjoy their time building and creating stuff. You don't want to maim yourself with a fucking router, let me tell you. That is a nasty, nasty, nasty cut to get. So we'll go with this nice soft round over. If you're wondering what bits I'm using, well, you probably shouldn't, because these are another Harbor Freight special for bits. Do have a couple nicer Bosch bits inside the shed, but one is a massive round over and one is like a straight cut bit, whatever the fuck that thing's called. So As far as having a choice in different profiles, it's actually a Harbor Freight bit set for the router that I got. Comes in a little wooden case and everything, so that's what I'm using. If you route all the time, I would probably recommend you getting a more expensive, higher quality set of bits. Another thing, guys, if you have a fucked up extension cord lying around, you're thinking about throwing it out, think about maybe repurposing it. So this little 4-way box is just made out of an old extension cord that was going to get tossed out, and I tied this little knot on it so I can hang it off of stuff like this, whatever. But these little boxes, these metal boxes, are very cheap. I think this was like $2 or $3 at Home Depot. The metal plate, I think, was another $2, and then the outlets, I'm not really sure what they cost. I buy these outlets in the 10 packs. I just like to have them for the house, just to repair stuff around here. So I had the outlets lying around, and so this does have a ground wire and everything. So it's a safe way to do it. Just pay attention, when you're wiring everything up, make sure there's no live wires making contact with this metal case. But as long as you wire everything up, pay a little bit of attention in there. This is a great way to repurpose an old extension cord and sort of give it a second lease on life. Alright guys, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill the holes for the line in and the line out. Like I said, I want to have 6.5 millimeter or 1/4 inch jacks that actually protrude through the back, like so. I hope this mock-up is kind of making sense. What I want to be able to do is plug the line from my guitar into the pedal board and my line out to the amplifier into the pedal board. I don't want any more exposed cables than necessary on the board. I want everything to be hidden, nice and clean, and so I think this is a surefire way to really make this pedal board look great and just clean everything up a little bit. So, like I said, these are measured in millimeters. These 1/4 inch jacks. I know they say 1/4 inch, 6.5 millimeter. So to drill a hole to accept that, it's looking like this 3/8 bit is going to be a good size. Now remember, there's also a washer and then a little hex nut that screws over this to lock everything into place. So although this bit is just a hair bigger than the jack itself, once that washer and nut get on, it'll hide. It'll clean everything up, make it look really streamlined. So that's what we're gonna do. Now you guys get to witness the first use of the Wen drill press in the shop. I built this new. I extended this workbench, so here I have a vise and the combination sander and my little mini Dremel drill press stuff kind of over here. These are more like the precision tools, if you want to call them that, although this combination sander is a fucking piece of shit, so I wouldn't call that precision. But in any case, this area over here is more for like precision type of work, cleaner precision work. So I built an extension, a legless extension actually, off of the bench top over here to mount this new drill press on. Oh, it's so quiet, guys. This is really something. Oh yeah. Oh, you got to be kidding me. This is. Look at that. Oh man. The reason I'm so excited about this drill press is because the last one was just fucking god awful. It was an awful. That Central Machinery drill press that I was using was really terrible and loud, and it rattled. I mean, it would have rattled this stuff over here. It would have been rattling everything, and I forgot to mention in the initial video where I unboxed this and I talked about the central machinery drill press, I'm sure some of you were thinking, well, did you go around and tighten everything? Is that why it was rattling and vibrating so much? Trust me, guys, I went through that drill press with a fine-tooth comb. I tightened everything, I Loctited it down, everything that I could have done to mitigate vibration and excessive noise from that drill press, I did, and it didn't help at all. It was literally rattling itself apart, and the chuck was failing mid-drill, and there was nothing that I could do about it. This that's the first time I've drilled anything with it, and I'm already impressed just by how quiet it is and how it doesn't vibrate at all. I don't have any rubber feet or anything on this to mitigate vibration. I have to say that was smooth. Time will tell with anything like this, but initial first drill with it, that was a nice experience. Now what I have to do, right? Because we want to think the 1/4-inch jacks that I have they're not long enough to fit through this 3/4 material. Now what I have to do is take a forcing bit, open up the back of this thing substantially to accept that in there. I'll leave this 3/8 hole in the front, but I'm going to have to use a forcing bit to open up a much larger recession into this wood so that it can accept that bigger jack. Because remember, I have to solder wires onto it and everything, and it's only probably, if I had to guess, maybe 1/2 inch. So that won't work. As it stands right now, this will not accept anything. That's not going to fit through there. You can see that. It's not even 1/4 of the way into this material. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to get a forcing bit, and we're going to open this up little by little. Because the last thing I want to do is punch that forcing bit through the material on the show side. That would fuck up this whole piece, and then I'd have to redo it. So be patient with what you're doing, guys. Trust me when I tell you. Take it from me. The experience I have with rushing and trying to get shit done, you always fucking pay for it, dude. You always pay for it by having to do something twice when you really should have just fucking done it the right way, the patient way the first time. You're a lot happier in the end, guys. I can't stress that enough. Now, this forcing bit wants to grab material and fucking eat its lunch, so I don't know if this little quick clamp thing here, this Harbor Freight Special, is going to be enough to stop this from wanting to twist when this drill bit hits it. All right. Oh, you bitch! Yeah. So the fucking the handle here is I rammed the fucking clamp right into it. So see if I can move that just a tidbit, so I can at least rotate that and get the spindle to move. Ah, fuck it. You know what, guys? We're gonna do this the old-fashioned way. Hopefully, I don't regret it. Here we go. We'll go nice and easy here. Nice and easy, just a little bit at a time. Little bit at a time. So you see what I'm talking about now. Hopefully that's making some sense to you. Shut this off. Now, it's looking like I am going to have to go a little bit deeper, but, I'll say it again, guys, it's like a fucking haircut, right? You can always take more off, but you can't put it back. So, and unlike hair, this isn't going to grow back. Okay, so we're back in the shed now. We've got our pieces cut. Everything's been routed the way that I'd like it. So I've made a mark here on each side, and what this is for is this is going to be how much of the top deck of the pedal board that I want to sit on top of the lower deck. That's pretty straightforward. So it's 1 inch in, obviously. So I want an inch of the upper deck to sit 1 inch onto the lower deck. Pretty straightforward, guys. So now what I'll do is I'll get some glue on this, clamp it down, and then I've got some 15 gauge nails here that I'm just going to shoot in. I think that's the easiest way to do it, and I feel pretty confident that it's going to be solid, so that's what we'll do. This video is starting to take a lot longer than I had anticipated to complete. With the new power pack and everything that I wanted to add to this, it did take fucking glue. It's like cement. It did take a little bit longer than I anticipated for that stuff to arrive, but it did get delivered this week, and I'm not working this weekend, so I figured this was a great opportunity to get this done. It's not nearly enough glue. See, the problem is, and I've talked about this in past videos, I do not know how to use wood glue appropriately. I put way too much wood glue on everything, and then it ends up just pressing out of every joint, and then I have to sand it down. It's a pain in the ass. So it's like one extreme or the other with me with the wood glue. I'm either not putting enough or way too much, but fuck it. You can always sand it off later, I guess. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. There you go. 15 gauge is probably one of my favorite guns. I think it's a perfect gauge nail for most things. Most. I say most, not all. Oh yeah, it's a ticket. Yeah, you know what? Let's just add. Yeah. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, as we look back on previous parts of this video, we can see that this will rest just like this on the board. Don't stop fucking with me. Angle the fucking gun. Now that I say that, I'm probably gonna fire the thing right through the back and look like an asshole. So just angle it. See what I'm saying? You shoot 90 degrees. Like I'm sure you're like, all right, Keelan, we get it. Stop hopping on about the angle of the gun. I'm telling you right now, this is angled about 8 degrees because of this backing. This has an 8-degree bevel on it. So the gun is going to want to rest flat on this piece, but the gun's angled at 8 degrees now. So you're shooting this at an angle. I can't stress that enough to you. I know from experience. I've done it. I've had a whole project going and a bunch of stuff done, and then I fucking blow it by not using my head. So take that advice and do what you want with it, but don't be surprised if you start shooting nails through shit you didn't want to shoot them through. All right, guys? All right. Now, like most things in life, they have a warp to them. This back is bowed a bit, so you can see these two. This corner is flush. This corner is flush. However, this is sticking out just a sliver, barely noticeable. Could probably be rectified with a heavier grit sandpaper, like 80 or 100 grit sandpaper would I'm sure just smooth that right down and make everything nice and flush. I'm gonna push my luck, try to get that seated a little bit better so I can shoot a nail into it. I think I can. I think if I just do a little fucking clampy clamp. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the ticket. We're done with the nail gun. Pushed our luck enough with the fucking nail gun, I can tell you that. Now I want to talk about the power supply of choice. Let me preface this by saying this is in no way a professional power supply, right? But it had really good reviews. It's isolated, which is, just a cleaner power for my pedals. So I went with this Stritch. I think that's how you say it. Who gives a fuck? Anyways, let's open it up. See what Stritch has to say for themselves. So this is the power supply itself. Nice. So it does 9 volt at 100 milliamps, and then it does a high current 9 volt at 500 milliamps, whatever. And then it does 12 volts, and then it also does 18 volts, which is great. As you can see, there's also some regular AC outs, 110s up top, which is pretty cool. Oh, you dirty. Why? Every asshole need to put fucking LED lights on their power supply. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, had good reviews. It's isolated. It's leaps and bounds above what I was using before. That Donner power supply that I had before just was kind of a piece of shit, honestly. And then this looks like all of our cables and Velcro. That was kind of them. Yeah, power cables and all types of shit. That's cool. Oh, short circuit protection. Wonderful. You guys better pay attention. Alright? Why don't we read this together, shall we? Using environment. That's number 4. Alright? Using environment. Whatever the fuck that means. Never set any container with liquid in near this equipment. If liquid gas into the equipment, it could cause a breakdown, fire, or electrical shock. Be careful, not let metal objects get into the equipment. If something does slip into the equipment, unplug the AC adapter from the wall. Then contact your UT nearest dealer or the store where the equipment was purchased, okay? Consider discarding. Please do not throw this product away, please, please. With your household trash, please dispose of this product in the right way. I mean, come on guys, fucking get it together. Make a contribution to our environment and health. The correct way to dispose of this product is to give it to an electronic component recycling factory or collection point for disassembly and recycling. Thought that went without saying. Area of use. So we've gone through our using environment. Now we're going to get into the fucking brass tacks. Area of use. This product is manufactured according to strict specifications. Alright? And voltages that apply to the country, region in which this product should be used. If you obtain this product through a partner, by mail order, and or by telephone sales, you must confirm that the product can be used in your country of residence / region. There you go. There you go. Noise processing feature. Now this is really something. The perfect grounding function eliminates the most extra electricity and ensure the guitar signals hi-fi output to achieve real clean sound. Put an exclamation point at the end of that so you know they're legit. Here, yes. Now see, I was wondering about this particular thing. So all DC 9-volt power output with the maximum capacity of 100 milliamp are suitable for ordinary analog guitar pedals. Under the circumstances of all LED lights on, instantaneous overload, insert oh no. Oh man. Instantaneous overload in certain output would lead low the corresponding LED lights flash. And the currents of this channel limit low 100 milliamp, which means output 1 through 6 might not be able to work properly if the connected digital pedal are of larger power consumption. Then you need to use output 7 or 8. It's right there, guys, in black and white. All right, now, as you can see, these are forcing a bit to make the appropriate size holes. They're a little larger than I would have liked. Another alternative, if you guys are going to do something like this, build yourself a guitar pedal board, you can make your own 1/4-inch cables to length, right? There's a whole kit for that. It comes with the input jacks and all types of stuff, but obviously the cable itself, and you can cut and build your own cables to size. So really I could have got a kit like that and just drilled 1/4-inch holes and just run the cable itself through the board, and then did the jack and everything on top. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand. I'm going to give this thing a very, very, very nice sand, and then I'm going to throw some stain on it and let that dry for a while. As always, guys, I'm not going to subject you to sanding and staining footage. Fucking sanding is sanding. If you guys want to know how to use a sander, there's a million videos on that on YouTube, and so I'm not going to bore you guys to death with the bullshit like that. I'm sure this video is kind of boring enough as it is, so we don't need to add any fuel to that fire, but that's the next step. So when we come back, this thing will be sanded, stained, and then we can get ready to install our power supply, as well as our jacks, do some soldering, make sure everything is good, and then we'll get the pedals installed, and then we can test everything out, see how it works. Now, I'm going to do my best not to hack the shit out of this, because, well, guys, I'm not exactly the best at soldering. I mean, I can do it, you know, but you wouldn't fucking pay me to do it. You know, just to show you guys that the soldering iron behind us there isn't just for show. So we'll do some flux, because I really want this to be a really solid connection, and I want that solder to flow all through this and really make a solid connection. I think I need a different tip on here, because this thing's just not fuck off. This thing's just not doing a good job of transferring heat. This tip broke. Fucking motherfucker. What about this? No, that's not very pretty. What the fuck have I been doing with these things? I don't know, man. These are fucked. Well, this could be a big problem for me, because this isn't one of those things you just want to fucking twist the wire around the contact and hope it holds. This shit, it has to be soldered. There's no other way. That connection, I mean, you're transmitting sound, theoretically, right? So, all right, so we've already got one side of our connection soldered. As you can see, that will serve its purpose pretty well, I'd say. Because these were relatively inexpensive jacks, I just want to test continuity on this one as well. I don't want to just assume that, that they're both set up the exact same, because who knows. But that looks like that will be our signal, and I believe it's the same. Okay, so our signal is here. This paint pen is fucking ass. Now, if this was a how-to, I would have you guys a little bit closer to the work, but you don't want me teaching you how to do much of anything, especially soldering. This is gonna go right up some of you guys' ass watching me solder this thing. I can't wait. Alright, now you guys can actually watch this fucking nightmare unfold right before your own eyes. Take some flux, and I'm gonna put some pretty much all over this. I mean, I don't want to go wild, you know, too wild with it, but I want to make sure I get it on both sides, because I do want the solder to flow to the underside of the connection as well. I want to make sure that this shit really works its way into this solder joint, and I will also put some on the contact, or the terminal, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it a contact. I'll put some on the contact as well. And then I'm just going to get some solder right on the tip of the iron. I'm left-handed, but I'm going to use my right. And I'll let that solder just work its way right into all of that. Now, another thing, while we're doing this, you don't want to just stick your face over this and fucking take a big deep breath. I'm just holding my breath as I solder. But if you're making soldering like a regular thing, you're going to want to have some type of like an exhaust vent over your soldering station, or at the very least, guys, a fucking fan to move this away from you. You don't want to sit there and breathe in that smoke that's coming off of this soldering joint. You really don't. It's terrible for you. Not exactly sure what it does to you. I'm not a fucking doctor, but I'm just telling you, it's not good. And there we have it. Both sides of one cable. So this will be the in or out. Really doesn't matter. This will be the in. So this will be mounted in the back of the board. This will allow the first pedal in the chain or the last pedal in the chain. Like I said, it doesn't matter. They're going to be identical cables, so it doesn't matter. This will allow either the first or the last pedal in the chain to plug right in, and then the line either in or out that way through the back of the board. All right, guys, here is the board. It is finally dry, so we can start putting this thing together now. All the corners, everything's been rounded over with the router, sanded, stained, a dark walnut, and then 2 coats of spar urethane. Of course, pre-stain conditioning and all that before the stain went on. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I love it's a little bit lighter on camera. I mean, I have the ring lights and stuff around, but even still in person, it is a little bit darker, but on camera, it's looking lighter for whatever reason, but that's okay. I love dark walnut. I think it's just such a beautiful color stain, really on anything, and I thought it would be a great thing to do with this. I do like the way that it came out. It's very classy looking, very modest looking. And so before we install the power supply, because that's the next step for us, I want to showcase a fucking major failure. I wouldn't call it a failure. It was a fuck up. Pretty good fuck up that I did with this board. Now, you really can't see it. The only thing I'll say in hindsight, it doesn't bother me that much, but I can see how some people might find it unattractive, is these larger diameter holes here for the cables to fit through. What I could have done was one of 2 things. I could have cut these and then spliced them back together after just drilling a hole big enough to accept the cable itself in the board, and then I could have put them back together underneath. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to compromise these cables that way, so I didn't do that. Another thing I could have done is order the kit. So there's a kit that you can make your own cables to length and things like that. I could have done that as well, and you know, it would have taken these from a I don't even know what size I used for that. It would have taken it from a much larger hole to something a lot smaller like this one for the power supply. So that may be something you might want to think of doing if you're going to build your own pedal board. For me, this doesn't bother me at all. The pedals will sit here. There won't be much of it exposed anyhow, so I'm not bothered by it, but I can see how it may be unattractive for some. But the fuck up that I want to discuss is actually on the underside of the board. So we're going to flip it over, and you're going to see what I had to do to accept these cables. So this is true dimension lumber. It's 1 inch thick. These are at a 90-degree angle. How am I supposed to get this up and through these holes? You understand what I'm saying? It's too thick. This cannot make the turn up and out of the board. So what I had to do was use a larger Forstner bit and open these up from the underside, right? And now you can get this to do what it needs to do and go through the board. However, that occurred to me after I built the board. This isn't the problem, right? That's a necessity. And you can see when using the drill press, they come out really clean. Like I said, I already built the board when this occurred to me. So I can only put so much material into the drill press before it hits the support in the back that's actually holding the power head on top of everything. So I was unable to reach fully in here. Fortunately, it still worked out, and I damn sure couldn't get to these. So these had to be done with a power drill. And you can see, because there was already a pre-existing hole there, that Forstner bit chattered and rocked, and I was almost certain that it was going to split this shit apart and I was going to have to start all over again. It didn't do that. I'm very grateful that it didn't do that. But these are little things that should have occurred to me from the very beginning. I should have done this before these two pieces were joined, but I didn't think of it until, like I said, the board was already completed. So just a major oversight on my part, but something that I did want to share with you guys. I mean, I could have left the board like this the whole fucking time, and you never would have known that happened, because thankfully it didn't punch itself up through this right here. But you know, it very easily could have happened. So just an oversight that I wanted to share with you guys, something to be mindful of if you do build your own board and you decide to build it relatively this way. Not sure if this way of building a board appeals to people, but I do like the way it looks. I think if it's all said and done and put back together, it's going to be a really nice addition to my guitar setup. So let's do that. Let's get the power supply and let's figure out how exactly we want that thing to sit on the underside of the board. Well, boy, oh boy, the oversights keep coming, don't they? So these two holes that you can see here are to run the power up into the board, right? Well, if I put the power supply where I initially wanted it, it basically sits right over top of either one of them or both of them. You know, it will fit here like this. It does start to encroach on the cavity here for one of our cables, but I really don't foresee that. Yeah, that's going to still fit just fine. So we really don't have any other choice but to put the power supply here. Next question. I really think that it should probably be facing this way so that the power outlets are giving me as much room as possible, basically. The only thing that kind of sucks about this now is I don't think I'm going to have enough space once this is sitting right side up to plug anything additional into these if I wanted to. Not that I really foresee a need to do that, but I do like that the option is there, and I think having to mount this further down, there just won't be enough clearance to plug things into that if the need should arise. I've never had a power supply with these before, so I think I can live without it, but once again, just another oversight, something that I wish I had thought of earlier on. I could have made the board a little bit taller or whatever, but anyways, we're going to roll with it. So now what I have to do is plug in the fucking main power cord and find out how much. Oh, you dirty fucking dog. You really are a motherfucker, aren't you? Oh, it might be. This is fucked. Well, this ain't good at all, man. This ain't good at all, buddy. This is not good at all, boys. This isn't good at all. Let me see something. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem we're running into. I don't particularly care for this big-ass, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be. The shitty part is I already put a finish on this fucking thing. Right? I already put a finish on this, so now what am I gonna have to drill another fucking hole in this thing to accept this? Yeah. That's exactly what I'm gonna have to do. That's a fucking shame. That is a real shame. Because I don't really have any bits that are going to be able to do this without chewing this up. Son of a bitch. Yeah, wow, what a bummer. Now it doesn't even matter about hole placement. There's not enough space here, right? This width is not enough to accept, you know, from here to here. It's not enough space. So the only thing I can really do is shit, just plunge a hole through this, I guess, right here. I'm not really excited about doing that because I think I'm gonna have to come up behind that with some stain and clear coat and try to clean that up a bit, but there's really nothing else I can do at this point. So what I'll do is I'll lay this pretty much where I want it, which I think that will probably be good there. Yeah, that'll probably do that. Make my mark here, the edge of the power supply, and then the center of that. This is a fucking shame, boys. 6 3/8. So We'll come in here, 6 3/8. Keep it as centered on that as possible. I'm just gonna eyeball it. You know, if it looks good, it is good. I'm just gonna eyeball it. That's good right there. This is why, guys, you know, I'm gonna keep this footage in here because this is the type of shit, right, that when you don't think of it, it fucks you big time when you want to when you go for assembly, you know, final assembly. This is the type of shit. These are the type of oversights that really will fuck your whole day up because you weren't thinking, you know, you just weren't thinking. We need to do this as cleanly as fucking possible. We're gonna go nice and easy until we get a bite. Yeah, we got a bite. All right, this is a sharp bit. That's one of the saving graces here. All right, now we'll get some. Also, I'm aware my hand is behind this thing, but if you think I'm going to leave it there by the time this bit plunges through, I mean, you're kind of a fool. I'm going to get my hand out of the fucking way, obviously. Right through. Here we go. It actually didn't chew it up like I thought it was going to. I do have to put some stain inside it, just like I did with everything else, but I mean, that's really like the least of my problems, right? If it had fucking chewed this all up, started splintering it or whatever the fuck you want to call it, that the drill bits do, like this shit going on here, that would have been fucked up, man. I would have been pissed. But at least it's clean, so, you know, we just got to kind of adapt with this shit. All right, so what I think we're gonna do is I have to get the cables in, at least up here, before power supply, because I have to be able to fit the whole head of this thing. You understand what I'm saying? This whole thing has to fit up through there. Can't do that with the power supply in the way. Can't mount it out here because that doesn't really give me any room to plug shit in if I want to. So what I need to do is get these cables where they need to be. Then I can move the power supply into position and go from there. That will give me enough room to work with these. Hope that's making sense to you. Like I said, I'm going to keep this in the video. It's probably going to be a longer video, I would assume. I mean, but you know, I want to keep this stuff because it shows that this is the type of shit that happens when you don't use your fucking head. Trying to use a Forstner bit or a hole saw to widen an existing hole without any type of jig or any trick, it's not going to work the way that you think it's going to work. Trust me, that's what you wind up with. That especially is what you wind up with when you try to do that shit. What you can do, this is really a way out of it, is you can take a piece of material that has nothing. In your best, I mean, you could probably make markings however you want to do it and put it over the existing hole, and then use your much larger, whether it's a hole saw or in our case a Forstner bit, and then use that to start making a straight path down. That's the only way you're going to be able to do that. That's it. You can argue with me all you want. When this fucking bit starts grabbing a hold of material, your hand, arm, I don't care how strong you think you are, this thing is going to start twisting and jumping and chattering and torquing all over the fucking place. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Drill press. How clean that is. Drill press, drill press. The drill press can't be chattered and thrown around. It just can't. When the material is clamped down, the drill press is solid, that you get clean results from things like that. When you think you can do this shit by hand, that's what you wind up with. Very, very ugly, almost project ruining results. Fortunately, we didn't ruin all of it, but Like I said, guys, this is complete oversight, right? Oh, a lot of oversight on my part now. I'm seeing it all kind of falling apart before me. So, you see what's going on here? Plug that in there, like so. That in there, like so. You understand? Turn it around. Pretty clean, right? Fair to say, pretty clean? I think it's pretty clean. Get up in there, you son of a bitch. What the hell is going on here? Oh, you fucking dirty, dirty, dirty fucking dog. Don't fucking dog me like this, bro. Alright guys, cover your eyes. All Reliable's coming out. Alright, so what you're watching now is a man operating at the limits of his ability. As far as patience is concerned, I'm losing my fucking patience, and I think you're sort of watching that happen right in front of you. So, the power supply needed to be elevated just enough to skate over top of this cable if it's fully, I don't know what the word is, seated up against the underside of the pedal board. So, I just cut these little strips of 1/4-inch plywood. Plugged in old trusty here. I know how much you guys love the hot glue gun. Give a shit what you say. This thing is a fucking lifesaver. Oh yeah, look at that. What a fucking hack job. Now they gave me Velcro, but fuck them. That's the ticket. You fucking motherfucker, you. Get the fuck out of here. Nice. Oh yeah, plenty of clearance. I can put my fucking hand underneath that thing. Okay. And then this. Uh-oh. I think I'm running out of these fucking things. Not really sure why. Oh man, I don't even know if I should post this. This is fucking embarrassing. Alright. Alright guys, so after some real finagling here, I didn't record a lot of it just because I'm truly losing my patience with this. Mostly with myself, because there's just a lot of things that I overlooked now that are coming back around to bite me in the ass. But yeah, in any case, I got the power supply where I want it. So far, I have all the pedals in their corresponding areas. One of my overdrives can take up to 18 volts, so I have it in the 12 volt here. You know, I figure 12 volts is pretty good for that. You can get a little bit more power out of it. But I have the line out set up now, so as you can see, things just plug in, and then this will go out to the amplifier, and there's, you know, the other one that we put together here will go there, and that'll be the line in from the guitar. Well, the board is done. Now you may be saying, Kalen, what happened to the last bit of footage? It just cut right to the board's completion. And listen guys, this video has been going on now for a long fucking time. And as of now, there's 56 different clips to sort through and edit and compile down. I mean, as it stands, we're probably looking at anywhere from a 40 or 45 minute video, and the video is not even done yet. So I can't keep dragging this out any longer. I do apologize for the shadows here. I've tried to do some things with the lighting, but it doesn't seem to help much. So in the interest of time and kind of getting to the point, the board is done. Now we have to move into the testing phase, which I'll keep brief. This isn't a video about me playing the guitar. This is the next phase, is just making sure that everything works the way that it's supposed to. So as you can see, all of our pedals, you can't see that one, but you'll just have to take my word for it that the power light's on. They all have power, and hopefully everything works. I did try to use a multimeter just for continuity from the input jack to the output jack in the back of the board. multimeter really doesn't possess that type of power to send a signal like that through all the cable and through every individual pedal, and you're really going to get nowhere trying to do that. I did try to do it anyway, but I didn't get anything from it. Really, the only way to test this properly is just to plug into it and see what comes out the other end. Now, I'll flip this over just so you can get sort of a general idea of the butchery that took place underneath this board. So this is the underside of the board. This is just, you know, everything is tied off and nothing's going to move around or come loose on us. You know, I did try to make sure that there is some insulation between the power pack and any audio cables, and the best I can. So we have our input jack here, so we'll plug right from the guitar into that jack. Signal goes through into our first pedal. This is it, guys. This is the underside of the board. I mean, it's definitely not the prettiest thing, and as we talked about earlier in the video, there was a lot of oversight as far as clearances and space to fit this stuff, things that just really didn't occur to me at the time, unfortunately. So just adapted and made the best with what I had, and I'm pretty happy. I mean, everything is, to me, I built it so I know what every one of these cables is doing, so if there's any issues that need to be diagnosed, I know what I'm looking at. You might not know what you're looking at, but I can sort of troubleshoot the underside of this board relatively easily. I mean, there's not a lot to it. Every pedal needs an audio connection, and every pedal needs a power connection, and they have to be run, my experience, in a certain way to achieve a decent sound. And they're running a chain, you know, it's a pedal chain. So very, very simple, very basic stuff. Pedal board did need feet put onto it. Unfortunately, I wanted to avoid putting feet on this thing, but there just wasn't enough clearance, guys. There was just not enough clearance with the board to fit everything underneath it that needed to be fit. As it is, these cables are pretty gnarly, the way that they're being, the way that they're turning into the board. So I really didn't want to push it anymore and risk damaging the connection or the 1/4-inch input jack on the pedal itself by putting too much pressure on it. So this I'm pretty happy with. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the guitar rig. It's definitely a step up from the previous pedal at the beginning of the video. It's just, it's a lot more manageable. It's a lot cleaner, especially on the show side. I mean, these pedals are they're just laid out nicely. And there's not a whole mess of cables and things like that running through the pedals, which was obviously my goal in all this, was just to make a much cleaner board. So now what we have to do is take this bad boy back inside, because it doesn't really need to be out here anymore. There's pretty sensitive electronics in some of this stuff, and this is a very dusty fucking environment. So I want to get this thing the fuck up out of here, back into the house. We'll hook it up to the amplifier, we'll run a guitar into it, and we'll just make sure that every one of these pedals works as intended. And that is going to be the end of the video, so let's get to it. Alright guys, we are back inside now, so we're going to be playing through this 68 Deluxe Reverb Reissue. So yeah, it's a powerhouse of an amplifier. The volume is going to be pretty low. We're going to discuss that in another video about some options we can do to be able to mimic the sound of a really loud amp without actually having to push that much volume through it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about testing this pedal board. The guitar we will be playing is a Gibson Les Paul Classic in translucent cherry. Not that the color matters, but this is absolutely one of my favorite guitars, and I waited a long time to be able to buy myself an actual Gibson Les Paul. I've had plenty of Epiphones, but to have the real deal is it's pretty incredible. So anyway, let's start testing this bad boy out. So it's time to see if all of our efforts were for nothing. I don't think that they were. I think I did a pretty good job putting this together. But in any case, like we saw earlier, all the pedals have power. So that's not what we're here to test. We know that all the pedals have power to them. What I'm here to test is signal continuity. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting any signal loss, signal gain where I don't want it, or any unwanted noise, hissing, buzzing, stuff like that that could be coming from the board. So I roll the volume on the guitar. That is our dry signal. As we'd expect, just a dry signal into a very low volume amplifier, so it doesn't sound too good. But in any case, our compressor alrighty. Our Fulltone OCD. Sounds pretty mean as always. I'm glad that I ran that 12 volt into it instead of the 9 that I had previously, because I think now it just makes it a little more growly, you know what I mean? And that's a nice sound. Yeah, I like that a lot. Alright, our Old Blood Noise Endeavor's Procession. Very nice. Next is our TC Electronic The Prophet. That is a digital delay. Cool, that sounds pretty good. Now we have the TC Electronic Sky Surfer. This is a reverb. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Now, this puppy. The Keeley, Robert Keeley Dark Side. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And you can also get some like Robin Trower-ish type of tones from it, like if you were to use it in conjunction with the overdrive, you know, you can get like his bridge of size sort of. So you can really get some pretty ugly tones out of it. It sounds really good. But enough about that. And then on to the Klon. Now, one pedal that I did want to this isn't a review on it or anything, but it's my favorite pedal on the board. I thought maybe you guys would find this pretty interesting. So, what this pedal is the Old Blood Noise Endeavor Procession. What it allows you to do is it has 3 different modulations. It has a flanger, a filter, and a tremolo. I don't really use the trem setting on it because my amplifier has a really nice tremolo unit put into it with a foot switch that you can turn it on and off and such. So I don't use the trem on this all that much, although I have in the past. It's not really why I use it. I like to keep it on the filter setting, so there's a small toggle switch here in the center of the pedal, and you can set that to whatever modulation effect you want. And then you can really dial it in. You can see there's 4 knobs around the top of the pedal, and those really dial in speed, mix, reverb, and depth. And you can do a deep dive into that if you want. But my favorite feature of the pedal is that it is its hold function. So on the right we have our bypass, which just simply turns the pedal on and off and allows the signal to either be affected by the pedal or to bypass right through it. So engaging the bypass allows us to, disengaging the bypass, I should say, by turning the pedal on, allows us to now have our signal affected by whatever we're trying to do with the pedal. In this case, we have it set to a pretty underwhelming filter. So if we listen to it, now I know it's tough to gauge on this, using a lapel mic here like I always do, so I know it's tough to hear exactly, but the signal is being affected. It's very noticeable, but in comparison to just how wild this pedal can get, it's pretty minimal. But with our hold function, we have a momentary switch here. So long as I keep that momentary switch depressed, it will continue infinitely to replicate whatever signal was passed through the pedal. So just to show you what I'm talking about, we can go. And then you can play over top of that as well. Now if I want to change chords, I just simply lift off, much like a sustain pedal on a piano. So I can this isn't really a demo video on it, but I just want to show you that pedal is fucking incredible, man. It's so cool and it's so much fun. You'll get lost. You'll lose track of time fucking with that thing. It's really, really, really cool. So our next video is going to be an isolation cabinet for our amplifier. If you guys aren't familiar with what an isolation cabinet is, it's basically a box that our amplifier sits in. You would mainly use an isolation cabinet if you were recording or you were miking up an amplifier and you wanted to kind of contain its sound in a way. A lot of people use isolation cabinets, whether it's in the studio or on tour, but it allows you to really, really, really crank the piss out of the amplifier without deafening or bleeding into other areas of the recording. So you can still mic the amp up, and you're really getting the sound that was meant to come out of that amplifier by turning it up to a much higher volume setting. Now, one thing that we have to be mindful of when going into the isolation cabinet or ISO cab build is that I have a tube amplifier, so it generates quite a bit of heat. When I say quite a bit, I mean a lot. It has 6 or 7 glass vacuum tubes in the back of it that drive different sections of the amplifier, and those things generate a serious amount of heat. So ventilation is going to be huge. What I'm going to use is 2 12-volt computer fans, very large 12-volt computer fans that will move air in from one side of the isolation cabinet, and then another fan will be pulling the air back out on the other side of the isolation cabinet, just sort of keeping air circulating behind the amplifier, specifically around the tubes, just to keep those things at a manageable temperature, because if not, that heat will kill the amplifier. So that's going to be our next video, is that ISO cab build. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. There was a million videos that you could have clicked on, but you clicked on this one. It does mean a lot to me. See you later.